The station's recreational facility hummed with the usual cacophony of alien physiology at work. Helene pushed through the entrance, her duffel bag slung over one shoulder, already mentally preparing for her routine. She'd learned months ago that humans were something of an oddity aboard the Zenith Confluence, a massive diplomatic station orbiting the neutral zone between six different stellar nations. Not because humans were weak, quite the opposite. The Velkari near the cardio equipment paused mid-stride on their anti-gravity runners, their four eyes tracking her movement. A cluster of Thornidian administrators stopped their low-impact resistance training to watch. Helene had grown accustomed to the stairs. Humanity's application to the Galactic Council was still pending, and their species remained a curiosity, these strange Deathworlders who came from a planet that actively tried to kill them. She found her usual spot in the free weight section and began her warm-up stretches. The station's gravity was calibrated to galactic standard, roughly 0.6 g, which meant Helene had to add extra weight to everything to make her workout worthwhile. That's when she noticed them. Three Kyrath cubs, adolescents really, but cubs nonetheless, had followed her into the gym. Their tawny fur bristled with barely contained excitement, and their retractable claws flexed nervously against the rubberized floor. Kyrath were apex predators on their homeworld, standing nearly 8 feet tall at maturity with reflexes that could snatch flying prey from the air. These three were probably only 6 feet tall, still growing into their fearsome reputation. Helene sighed. She'd dealt with curious aliens before, but Kyrath younglings were particularly excitable. She loaded the barbell for her bench press, 200 pounds standard for her warm-up sets. Behind her, she heard a sharp intake of breath from one of the cubs. "Impossible," one whispered in heavily accented galactic common. "That mass would crush a Velkari." "She's from a death world," another replied, awe creeping into their voice. "Class 12 gravity, hostile megafauna, atmospheric oxygen levels that would intoxicate most species." Helene lay back on the bench, gripped the bar, and began her set. 10 reps, smooth and controlled. She could feel 6 feline eyes boring into her. As she sat up, the boldest of the three approached. His name badge read Druk, and his tail swished with nervous energy. "Human Helene," Druk began, his translator chip rendering his clicks and growls into common. We have studied your species in our xenobiology courses. Your muscle density is remarkable. Your skeletal structure is designed to withstand impacts that would shatter most species' bones." Helene wiped her face with a towel. "That's nice, kid. I'm just trying to work out." "But this is our chance," another cub interjected, pressing forward. "We've never seen a human exercise before. Our instructor says humans are one of the few species that actively damage their muscles on purpose to make them stronger." "And your cardiovascular system," the third added. "You're a pursuit predator. You can run for hours without stopping." Helene loaded more weight onto the barbell, 300 pounds now. "Look, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but we could spot for you," Druk blurted out, his ears flattening in what Helene had learned was a Kirath gesture of earnest offering. "It would be an honor to assist a Deathworlder in their natural training regimen." She paused, studying the three cubs. Their eyes were wide with genuine fascination, not mockery. They vibrated with the kind of youthful excitement that transcended species barriers. "You know how to spot?" Helene asked. "We've been training for the Kyrath Youth Defense Corps," Druk said proudly. "We're learning proper assistance techniques for team-based strength conditioning." Helene considered this. "All right, but you follow my instructions exactly. This weight can cause serious injury if mishandled." The three cubs nearly trembled with joy. What followed was perhaps the most unusual workout session in the station's history. Helene went through her routine: bench press, squats, deadlifts, while her three Kyrath spotters learned the intricacies of supporting a human through high-intensity resistance training. They were surprisingly adept, their predator reflexes allowing them to react instantly when Helene needed assistance. "Your bone density is absurd," Druk commented as Helene completed a set of squats with 400 pounds. "On our homeworld, only our greatest warriors train with such mass." "On my homeworld," Helene grunted, racking the weight. "This is just Monday." The gym had gradually filled with onlookers. What started as a handful of curious aliens had become a small crowd. Helene noticed a group of Velkari recording the session on their devices, and several Thornidian younglings pressed against the viewing glass, their crystalline structures refracting light in patterns that indicated excitement. "Why do you do this?" one of the other cubs asked as Helene prepared for deadlifts. "Your species is already formidable. Why push yourselves further?" Helene gripped the barbell, 500 pounds loaded now. "Because we can always be better. Because challenges don't wait for you to be ready. Because Earth taught us that if you don't adapt, you die." She lifted. The bar rose smoothly, her form perfect despite the immense weight. "And because," she continued, lowering the weight with controlled precision, "strength isn't just physical. It's mental. It's pushing past the voice that says stop and finding the voice that says one more." Druck's tail had gone completely still, a Karath sign of profound respect. By the time Helene finished her workout, she'd accumulated quite the following. The three Kyrath cubs had proven themselves capable spotters, learning quickly and adapting to her needs. As she toweled off and prepared to leave, Druck approached one final time. "Human Helene," he said, his voice carrying the formal cadence of Karath gratitude. "You have honored us today. We came seeking knowledge about Deathworlders. We leave understanding why the galaxy should welcome humanity." Helene smiled, shouldering her duffel bag. "Just remember this when humans start applying to the Defense Corps. We're good team members." "The best," Druck agreed. As Helene walked toward the exit, she heard one of the other cubs whisper, "Do you think she'd train with us again?" "Every Monday," Druck replied confidently. "Humans are pursuit predators, remember? They always return to their patterns." Helene chuckled to herself. She hadn't asked for 3 Kyrath spotters, but somehow she'd found them anyway. Or perhaps they'd found her. Either way, she supposed having a few apex predators in her corner wasn't the worst thing that could happen to a human alone on an alien station. Not the worst thing at all.